Hello, welcome to Tommy's Reptiles. I'm in front of my Brazilian Rainbow Boa enclosure, and today I'll be showing you the enclosure and we'll also be feeding my Brazilian Rainbow Boa. As you guys might know, I had a leak in my reptile room and all of the reptiles had to be moved out into my living room, so right now my Rainbow Boa is sitting in my living room right under the TV. Here is my black box enclosure that I got from my Brazilian Rainbow Boa. This enclosure is packed with 2 large viewing panels, 2 locks, and as you can see, it has these door holders so they don't just flop open. It also comes with a built-in LED light and a radiant heat panel. I'll bring you guys inside for a closer look. The substrate that I use in this enclosure is a mixture between coco coir, sphagnum moss, and leaf litter. I got some fake plants at Hobby Lobby, but I plan to use real plants in the future. I'll show you what's going on the other side of this enclosure. I have the water dish, the small snake hide in the back, and the big black box cages snake hide in the front. I definitely plan to rescape this enclosure in the future and make it look amazing. Before we feed my Brazilian Rainbow Boa, let's give my enclosure a nice little spray down. I usually give this enclosure a really nice spray down at least once a day. Alright, the time is finally here. Let's feed my Brazilian Rainbow Boa. There's nothing cooler than watching a snake strike in slow motion. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to remove this snake hide so you guys can really see how this Rainbow Boa eats. If I didn't remove his cave, the snake would just pull the mouse inside the cave and we wouldn't see anything. Alright, let's give it another shot and see if this Brazilian Rainbow Boa can get a hold of his food. Woohoo! There he goes! You guys can see here that he tightly restricted around his prey. I personally choose to feed my Brazilian Rainbow Boa frozen thawed mice. There's a couple reasons. The main reason is because I just don't feel like feeding live. I also heard that if you feed live all the time, then they'll only want to eat live mice. And it's just easier all around. And also, I've heard stories of people feeding live mice or rats to their snake, and the mice or rat actually caused harm to their pet snake. Don't forget, mice and rats have claws and really powerful teeth that can chomp through pretty much anything. It may appear that my Brazilian Rainbow Boa is eating this frozen thawed mouse pretty quick, but that's because every time he paws in between bites, I cut it out. At this point, he's really just trying to get in a more comfortable position to make it easier for him to start getting the frozen thawed mouse into his mouth and then further down into his throat and down his body. It usually always takes him a couple minutes to find a position where he's comfortable. Now you can see he's starting to work his mouth over the head of the mouse. It always seems like getting the head into his mouth is the hardest part of the eating process. Once the head's in there, he inches his way down the body. It's actually really cool. Every time I fed this snake and he strikes, sometimes he'll grab the mouse by the midsection, but he always seems to find the head because he knows that's the easiest way for him to swallow it safely. Swallowing this frozen thawed mouse backwards would be a complete nightmare. He would have to start with the tail and then the feet, and they might get caught because they're going the wrong way. Swallowing it head first really helps it just kind of tuck in and go down his throat. He's finally almost completely over the mouse's head now. It looks like he's actually going to swing his neck around a little bit to give him more room to continue eating this mouse. This is pretty cool. Now we can see him eating from a different angle. You could really see how wide he opens his jaws. It looks like the mouse is already halfway done now. See how fast it goes after he gets the head in? It's all smooth sailing from there. I usually feed him a mouse around this size once a week, and he's doing great. He's got a healthy weight and he's growing at a pretty fast rate, but not too fast where he would be overfed or overweight. I've noticed a lot of people tend to overfeed their reptiles, and hey, I've been one of those people before, and I've had to cut back on feeding my lizards too many crickets. Okay, so he's almost completely done with the body. He just has to get the feet and the tail. And this is actually a relatively hard part. The tail also takes a long time just because it's so long. You can see he keeps moving his head side to side a little bit. He's really getting those swallowing muscles going. Alright, all he has to do is finish the tail now. This always reminds me of slurping up a spaghetti noodle, just a lot slower. At this camera angle, you can really see that beautiful rainbow sheen. That's part of the reason I love Brazilian Rainbow Boas. Their coloration is awesome, but the rainbow sheen is really the icing on the cake. Okay, awesome. He's about to get the last part of the tail in, so he's getting the last couple swallows down. Once they start tongue flicking again, then you know they're just about done eating. And that's it. The mouse is completely in the snake's body. Now starts the long journey of digestion. Now I just need the snake to get out of the way so I can put his cave back in, because he loves crawling into his cave while he's digesting. But while we're waiting for him to move, let's take a look at his beautiful colors and patterns. Brazilian Rainbow Boas are very closely related to the Anaconda. They even have a very similar circular pattern on the side of their body, which some people say look like owl eyes. Looks like the snake may want to explore a little bit. I don't know any snake on the planet that has more beautiful coloration than the Brazilian Rainbow Boa. If you guys think you can name one better, please leave it down in the comments. And it looks like he's headed to the other side of the enclosure, which will be perfect so I could put his cave back in, and then I guarantee eventually he'll go right into that cave and hang out until this mouse is fully digested. This shot right here will give you a good idea of how long this snake really is. These beautiful patterns seem to just go on forever. What I'm really wondering is, where is he going? It looks like in the meantime, he's going inside of his black box cage's snake hide. Perfect time to return his other hide that I made out of some Tupperware. Gotta make sure to put the probe to the radiant heat panel back where it was so this enclosure doesn't overheat. Now it's time to close up and lock my black box cage's cage. I highly recommend these enclosures. They're my absolute favorite, and one day I plan to have every single one of my reptiles inside of one. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching Tommy's Reptiles.